I said I wasn't going to do it again, but circumstances have changed. The state of Victoria where I live is currently in a 6-week lockdown because we've got a second wave of you-know-what. And so I'm not allowed to leave the house except for essential things. So that kind of led me towards, what if I did another 24-hour movie marathon? And if I did, what would it be about? And so I've looked through the wonderful library, and I'm just changing hands with the camera there. I've looked through my wonderful library of movies, and I've come up with an answer. It's kind of a little bit left field, but it is kind of fun, and I wonder if I can get through maybe a dozen movies on this particular subject. The subject in question being Godzilla. Am I going to be able to do it? Will I get through it? Will I have enough coffee in the house, even though I've got about 750 grams? Is it going to be enough to get me through the 24 hours? And how am I going to feel at the end of it? Let's find out. So what's the first movie going to be? It was always going to be this one. You'd be really stupid to do a 24-hour kaiju marathon without the original Godzilla. The 1954 version. Not the 1955 version with Raymond Burr added, but the original Japanese version. I'm going to watch it with subtitles, of course, rather than dubbing, because that's how we do things. And I'll let you know how the rewatch was for me when I finished it. See you then. Okay, it's about 10:37 now, and I've finished watching the original Godzilla, and I forgot to a certain extent how serious a film it is. It is about post-war Japan and the fears for nuclear weapons and the fears for any future weapons people will produce. Yeah, the monster is great and the special effects are great. The model works fantastic. The scenes of destruction in Tokyo are profoundly moving. But the lovely thing the movie does, which a lot of movies subsequent to it fail to do, is that it keeps the human dimension in the foreground. The people and their feelings and their reactions to this unprecedented disaster are very much what the movie is about. There are some really horrible and scary scenes. There's a scene when Godzilla is invading Tokyo where a mother and her 2 children are huddling in a corner waiting to die, and she's trying to reassure her children. There are lots of scenes like that through it too. It is not just a big monster destroying a city. It's about how Japan saw its recent past and saw itself as well. It's got Shimura Takashi in it as well, and I'd forgotten that. He plays Professor Yamane, and he was also the leader of the Seven Samurai in Seven Samurai, another Toho film, and he was also in Rashomon, so it's interesting just seeing him in a very different role there. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching this one. Please, if you do watch it, watch the original Japanese version. I don't think that the American version with Raymond Burr added adds anything to the movie. In fact, I think it distracts from the message of the movie and the profoundness of the movie too. It's a serious film, as well as being the very first kaiju entertainment. I think that the importance of the film is not to be underestimated. It is really moving and interesting, and it has things to say about how people handle adversity, and of course those are lessons that we all need to know right now. Moving on to the second movie now, which is Godzilla Vs Mothra. Now, I don't know whether I've seen this one before or not, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big Mothra fan, so I'm looking forward to seeing the giant winged beastie having a go at Godzilla, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And I will see you after that one. I've come outside for this bit and need a little bit of sunshine. Let me just get into the sunshine. So, second Godzilla movie, Mothra vs. Godzilla, which was pretty damn good. It was made by Ishiro Honda, who made the first one, of course. And he wanted to make something that was a little more friendly to children, and so they made this one. Really great battles between Godzilla and Mothra. I really enjoyed them. They were next level as far as the special effects are concerned. In the 10 years between the two movies, because this one was made in 1964, they really upped the special effects. It was in colour, it was widescreen. The pyrotechnics and the model work and the explosions and the creations of the creatures were so much better than the first one. And it really worked for me. Yeah, it was kid-friendly, but still it had a little bit to say about nuclear weapons and nuclear testing. And it had two different iterations of Mothra. Mothra as the giant winged Mothra, and also a couple of Mothra larvae, so I was quite pleased by that. So the next movie I'm going in for is Godzilla Invasion of the Astro-Monsters, which I'm looking forward to because I don't think I've seen this one. And the sun's going behind a cloud. So I'm going to go in, going to watch that one, and I'll let you know how that is. See you soon. Well, it's right on 2 p.m. and my furry companion has gone to sleep. So I finished that movie. What was it called? Some of the names are all the same. It was Godzilla Invasion of the Astro-Monster. It was pretty okay. Not the best one of the series. It actually had an American actor in it, Nick Adams, an American guy who had a little bit of fame in the 50s and early 60s. And then, unfortunately, died at an early age. But this one we got Godzilla, we got King Ghidorah, we got Rodan, and we also got Planet X and an invasion of aliens in flying saucers, which is always a little bit of fun. The production values are up even higher than the last one, which is kind of good. The pyrotechnics are really on point. We get a really nice scene with Godzilla, Rodan, and some flying saucers in front of Mount Fuji. We get spaceships and an alien planet, and some really nice production design and costume design with that as well. It really is a lot of fun. Now, the next one we got, and I've got to read it off the box again, is Godzilla Vs Ebirah. Godzilla Vs Ebirah, which I haven't seen before, and I'm looking forward to because we get a new monster that's not one of the big four in this one. And I'll let you know how that one goes. I'm going to have a coffee before I start the movie. So I'll be starting it at about 10 past 2. And then we'll see how we go from there. So it should be a lot of fun. And I'm still alert, I'm still aware. And I'm a little bit worried that when I finish this 24 hours, I'm going to be dreaming of kaiju for the next couple of nights, which is a little bit of a worry, but we'll see how that goes as well. I'll see you after that. Well, with that one, we've drifted a hell of a long way from the 1954 Godzilla, but nonetheless, it was a lot of fun. We get Ebirah, a giant lobster monster with a claw the size of a super yacht. We get a little bit of Mothra as well, running a rescue mission. We get a giant condor, and we get Godzilla all at once. It's done with a much lighter tone than previous movies. It starts out with a go-go dancing competition and ends up with a nuclear explosion, so that pretty much tells you most of what you need to know about that film. I really enjoyed it. It is really, really much lighter than the first one was. Special effects just keep getting better and better. The Godzilla himself, the characterization and the almost humanization of Godzilla is a little bit naff in a way. But yeah, it's a good, fun 1960s matinee kind of kaiju movie. And they had the Shobujin in there again, but they were played by a different group than the Peanuts. They were played by a duo called Pear Bambi. And I kind of missed the Peanuts. They had a certain tone and a certain niceness about them. Whereas Pear Bambi were a little bit different and maybe not so good. But it was good to see the Shobujin again and to see Mothra getting back in the game. So anyway, the next movie I've got is Son of Godzilla, which I haven't seen for a very long time, and I know it's really quite bad. Let me just get the disc out if I can reach around. And I shouldn't say reach around while I'm doing this. Let's see. There we go. Son of Godzilla. Yeah, so that one's next. The time is, he said, looking at the watch, 3:35 p.m. Still going strong. I had the coffee, I promised myself. Won't have another one until about 7 or 8. But it's time to get on with the next movie. So it's a little after 5 p.m. Just watched Son of Godzilla. It was definitely B-Unit Godzilla, directed by Jun Fukuda rather than Ishiro Honda, and the budget was much lower. It was filmed a little bit on location in Guam, but it's got some nice monsters in it. It's got a giant spider called Kumonga. It's got a whole bunch of giant prey mantises called Kamikuras, and it's got not an uninteresting concept about a scientific mission on an island to do research weather control and how they manage that. But the baby Godzilla is fucking annoying. It really cheesed me off. I didn't like it that much at all. But having said that, I'm moving on to one of my favourite of the kaiju movies from this particular era. And it is, of course, from about 1968, I think it is. Destroy All Monsters. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm going to have a meal break first because it's heading on to roughly a meal break. I don't want to leave it too much longer than that. But yeah, I'm trucking along. It puts you in a weird headspace to watch all of the same kind of movies for a number of hours. So we'll see how we go into the night. And I've got to feed the cats as well, which is quite an important task around here. And I'll watch Destroy All Monsters.
It is the same spaceship you saw near the moon. That should convince you we do not come from your world. We are here to make you our slaves.
So I got through the first box of 6 movies with Destroy All Monsters, which is pretty damn cool. You get tons and tons of monsters. You get all the usual guys. You get Agirus, you get Manda, and you get Ghidorah back as well. So you get tons and tons of monsters just bashing each other up and wrecking countries and cities on the behest of aliens. In this case, the aliens were female. And the funny thing from my point of view was that the female aliens had spaceships that looked like nipples. I'm not kidding you, they did. So anyway, I'm on to the second box now. At the time is, he said, looking at his watch, 6:53. So I'm way ahead of schedule for the 24 hours. And so we move on to All Monster Attack, the first disc in the second box, which is this one. And I haven't seen that. I've seen Destroy All Monsters before. Saw it years and years ago in a cinema. But I'm looking forward to seeing All Monster Attack and then moving on to things with Mechagodzilla in them and all those other things. So I think it's time for another coffee, and I've got a couple of little chores to do. And I'd say about 10 past 7 p.m. I'll start with All Monsters Attack. I'll see you after that. Godzilla vs Hedorah. Now that was a good one. The monster was at least equal to Godzilla. The style's a lot different too, because the director, a guy called Bano, had some wild ideas about it. It's a very early 1970s kind of film in some ways, and he made a really distinctive monster in Hedorah. The director actually said that he made the eyes vertical slits because it reminded him of vaginas and he found them scary. So make of that what you will, but Godzilla vs Hedorah is a really interesting film. It works well as a kaiju movie, and the battles are really at an elevated level. Godzilla gets torn up a lot in this film, and for me it's one of the best ones I've seen today. So we're moving on from there to the next one, which is Godzilla vs Gigan. Now, I know very little about this one, but I'm looking forward to it. It's now about 9:40 p.m, so I'm probably going to get through all 12 movies well before the 24 hours, but I'll find something else to do for the rest of it. But I'm looking forward to this one because I know nothing about it, and I'm going to just go into it cold. So sit back and I'll let you know how that one goes after I watch it. Well, Godzilla vs Gigan was weird. Gigan turned out to be a cross between a chicken and a chainsaw, and teamed up with King Ghidorah versus Godzilla and Agirus, and all because a whole bunch of, well, space cockroaches decided to invade the Earth and use the monsters as weapons. It kind of is a very weird little effort in the Showa Era Godzilla movies, because it combines capitalism, a theme park, a giant chainsaw chicken, a three-headed two-tailed dragon, Godzilla, and Agirus, who's a kind of pangolin looking thing. So how am I holding up? The time now is 11:17 at night, so I've been going for over 14 hours. And that means I've still got 10 hours to do. But I'm kind of getting a little bit brainwhacked by looking at all of these kaiju battles in such abundance over such a prolonged period of time. So we'll just see how we go with that. The next one we've got up is Godzilla Vs Megalon, which I know nothing about as well. So I'm going to enjoy that. And after that, I may take a little meal break and a coffee break and go into the last 2 or 3 movies, depending on how I go. So it's on to Godzilla vs Megalon, and we'll see how that one runs. Catch you after that. It's 12:48 in the morning, and I just finished watching Godzilla vs Megalon, and it's a dog's breakfast. It's probably one of the worst ones I've watched so far. It's got a robot called Jet Jaguar in it. It's got Megalon. It's got a place called Seatopia, which is a 3 million year old undersea civilization. And it's got nothing of redeeming value at all. It does not have one female character in it either, which is a bit of a stupid thing. But it was a little hard to get through that one. Not because I was getting particularly tired, but because it was repetitive and ordinary. But it's time to move on, and the next one I've got is, he said, scrounging around on the table to find the correct disc. Having trouble holding up the discs at this time of night. I don't know whether to have a coffee before or after this one, but one way or the other I am going to caffeinate again because I feel the need. And anyway, I'm going to get on with that one, and we'll see how that one goes. And I have hopes that it will be a lot better than Godzilla vs Megalon. It's now 2:30 a.m. and I've just finished Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla, and it's not too bad. It's got a little bit of difference in it because part of it's set in Okinawa. It's got a kaiju from Okinawa called King Shisa, who is kind of like a big feral temple dog, and he's a lot of fun. You only get to see him in this one movie, but he is a lot of fun in there. You get Mechagodzilla, you get Godzilla, you get a bunch of people, including women this time, which is good, and you also get a bunch of aliens who secretly look like apes who are trying to take over the world, because that's pretty much how this Showa Era Godzilla thing ran. After a certain point, it was Alien of the Week kind of stuff, and these ones were kind of nasty, but the Okinawa locations are great, and getting a kaiju who was just that little bit different in there was not a bad thing. I enjoyed that a lot. So I'm on to the last movie, which is, he said, leaning forward again to get the box. The Terror of Mechagodzilla, which is kind of going to be interesting because the last Mechagodzilla blew up after it got his head ripped off. But we'll see where that takes us. And then I'm going to throw in a couple of other movies because I'm way ahead of time. I've got to do 24 hours and that's until 9 a.m. and it's now 2:30. So I've still got a couple of movies I can squeeze in after the last of the Godzilla ones. So we'll see how that goes. Hi, this is future me editing this turkey at the moment, and I found out that the audio, bad as it is on the rest of the movies I talked about, is the worst on the 12th and last movie, Terror of Mechagodzilla. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that one. It's even worse than Mechagodzilla was. It was seriously deeply bad. It has a kind of interesting kaiju whose name I can never remember, so I'm going to look it up while I'm here. Yeah, it's called Titanosaurus, and it looks like somebody crossed a seahorse with a Teletubby. The movie is pretty damn bad, which brought the Showa Era to an end because all of the Godzilla movies at the time were pretty bad. The only thing I can possibly compare it to is the Roger Moore James Bond era. Godzilla got better after that, James Bond got better after that, but in the 1970s, both franchises were total crap. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the video and just assume that I've talked about Terror of Mechagodzilla. Okay, it's the next morning, the morning that I went to bed, and I've got a little bit of sleep and haven't had coffee yet, so if I mispronounce anything or just like fall sideways and go to sleep, then there's a reason why. So how do I feel about watching 12 Godzilla movies in 19 hours? I wouldn't do it again. Toward the end it got very, very hard and I started hating the movies, which I don't ever want to do again with any kind of movie under any circumstance except the obvious, Star Wars. When I do a 24-hour again, and I probably will because that's my thing, I'll pick a range of movies because watching 12 movies of decreasing quality, and unfortunately the Showa Godzilla movies did decrease in quality as the series progressed, it really isn't something I want to do. I think that it's the law of diminishing returns, and I don't really want to do that again. But I've got a few things I kind of worked out on pen and paper that I want to say about. First off, top 3 list of the movies. Easy one to do. Godzilla, the 1954 original, because it is just so strong, and in spite of it being a exploitation movie in a lot of ways, it stands well amongst the wonderful films the Japanese were making in the 1950s. It stands up with Gorosaurus movies, it stands up with Ozu's movies. In its own genre, it is fantastically good. Characterizations are on point, and it just works on so many levels and stood the test of time. Don't bother, as I said, with the Raymond Burr one. It's not going to add anything of value to the narrative. Second one, Mothra vs Godzilla, because I love Mothra. I love the Peanuts singing their little Mothra song. I like Mothra spitting out webbing and all that kind of stuff. It just works for me. I may go back and watch the original Mothra, which is on this Toho collection that I've got, along with the H-Man and also Battle in Outer Space. It's a good one. If you can pick this one up, pick it up. It's a nice little trilogy of Toho genre films, which you can pick up fairly cheaply if you look around. So Mothra vs Godzilla is the second one. Third one, Godzilla vs Hedorah. I like Hedorah, the smog monster, the slime monster. I like the design of it. I like the fact that they got a director they never got again, who had a very different sensibility and a different way of telling the story. And even though at the time a lot of people didn't like it, I really liked it. I think it's a good monster. It's got a good backstory. The battles are on point and crisp, and it works. And Godzilla really does feel like a force of nature again in that one. The later movies, not so good. Favorite kaiju I hadn't seen before, Kumonga, the giant spider. I like the giant spider a lot. Spitting out the webs, it's tactical. It digs its claw into caves to try to pull people out. It's just pretty damn good. I like the way that Kumonga operates, and seeing it in that much lesser movie along with the giant grasshoppers and things like that kind of worked for me. I liked the way it operated. And finally, my all-time favorite kaiju, gotta be Mothra. There is no way that this guy is not my favorite. I like the fact that Mothra brings its own backing group with it. I like the Peanuts and their little thing there. What do they call them? The Shobujin. I like the Shobujin. I like the island. And it just works for me. And I like the fact they brought Mothra back for the Monarchverse movies, because I think that Mothra just rocks. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. I've got to go and edit all this stuff now after I recaffeinate. But thank you for watching. Let me know what your favourite kaiju movies of the old school are. There are some good ones in there. The standalone Mothra movie is pretty damn good. But for now, I'm going to caffeinate, have some food, and edit while Jack the cat, one of my wonderful companions over this weird ordeal and marathon, is catching all the sunlight. I'll catch you guys later. Take care of yourselves. Subscribe if you'd like to. Leave a comment. Give me a little thumbs up. And I'll be back soon with something entirely different. See you then.